Hello and welcome back to the Schmeat channel. Today we're going to get into every team's MVP this season. I wanted to do this video because for the Charlotte Hornets it's kind of up in the air who our MVP could be. It's probably LaMelo Ball just because it's a Bleacher Report article, but in actuality who I would have my MVP as is probably Gordon Hayward. I know Terry Rozier's been on a tear. I know Miles Bridges as of late has been on a tear. I was going to do a video about how our future is really bright. Let me know in the comments if you like that video. But I don't think LaMelo is really our MVP because I think with any rookie we would have drafted, we would have had a similar result of the season just because we had good pieces around LaMelo that could help us into our peak at the 4th spot. But now we're in the 6th spot. So let's get into this article. So we got every team's MVP, and if you want to be mad at who's an MVP of which team, you can talk to Grant Hughes who made this article. So the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young, yeah. I can't really think of anybody else who could be there. Maybe Clint Capella, just because they needed a guy at the center position that could fill that center position role, and that was Clint Capella. They had Bruno Fernando. They had Jabari Parker running the center position a little bit last season, but overall I would say it is Trae Young just because he's been the most consistent. So Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics. I agree. Even though what's his name, Jalen had a great game the other night, going for 40 points with really great efficiency. But over the course of the year, I would say Jason Tatum. He's a superstar. He's becoming a superstar at least. Brooklyn Nets, James Harden. Would I say James Harden? I would just because he has played the most games since he's been there. Kevin Durant has been out. Kyrie Irving I don't think Kyrie Irving can be their MVP just because of how inconsistent he is and just playing. When he does play, he's fantastic. All these guys are fantastic, but the best quote is availability is the best ability. And James Harden for the most part is available. I know he's been out a little bit with a calf strain, I believe. But yeah, I would say James Harden is their MVP. Maybe what's his face? Oh God, Jeff Green. Maybe Jeff Green, just because he's been holding down the small ball lineup. But yeah, James Harden, Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball. Yeah, I kind of guessed that Bleacher Report would go for this route. Terry Rozier leads the Hornets in minutes and points, and he's been an absolute killer in the clutch. That is true. I think he's statistically the best player in the clutch. I might be wrong on that, but just watching every game, it's pretty apparent that he's just awesome in the clutch. Who else do they say here? Gordon Hayward is the team's most complete player. Devontae Graham owns the largest positive on-off different. That's interesting. I did not know that we were so different when Devontae Graham is on the floor or went off. We're going to remember one thing, LaMelo Ball's franchise-altering play. That makes sense. I guess he has risen our ceiling because as I started this video, I referenced that if we drafted, a James Wiseman or Anthony Edwards, we'd be in a similar position. Obviously, those two players are way different players, so it's hard to know how good we would be with a different rookie, but LaMelo Ball is definitely up there for MVP. I think Gordon Hayward just so complete, like they even referenced it. So Chicago Bulls and Zach LaVine, yeah, that's a pretty obvious one. Thaddeus Young, I can't talk today. Thaddeus Young is, should be in the most improved player debate, but he's not. Thaddeus Young has been amazing this season. Let's go on. Colin Sexton for the Cavaliers. Probably Jared Allen is up there. I guess Colin Sexton. I haven't watched much of the Cavs game. I know the Hornets game versus the Cavs, Colin Sexton didn't play. But yeah, let's go on. Mavs, Luka Doncic. They got JJ Redick on that team now, which I'm actually excited for. If you guys don't watch the JJ Redick podcast, that's a great podcast. I think it's called The Old Man and the Three. I watch every episode of that. It's a great podcast. Great listen. Denver Nuggets and Nikola Vucevic. That's pretty obvious MVP candidate. It's hard to see the Jamal Murray injury go down because they were championship contenders. I was confident in saying that. And with Jamal Murray being out, I don't know what their ceiling is. They still have good pieces around Jokic. They got MPJ. Aaron Gordon, who they just acquired, but Monte Morris has got to step up for that role. They got the foreign player as well, who runs point guard for them. I think he's like 5'10". He has all these highlights on House of Highlights. That's how I know his name. I think is Koboko. I don't know his name. I'm not even going to try to attempt. For the Pistons, Jeremy Grant. Mason Plumlee's been going off this season for them as well. Yeah, I would say Jeremy Grant, though. I'm surprised they didn't trade him just because his trade value was so fucking high. He was averaging like 24 points at the trade deadline. They probably could have gotten a bunch for him, but they're sticking with him, I guess, which I don't know if I totally agree with. But let's go on to Warriors and Steph Curry. I just saw a video from Rusty Buckets, another NBA YouTuber, who made the point of how he's the most valuable player, but he's not going to be the MVP. He is the most valuable to the Warriors. If you look at a game that they don't have Steph Curry, they're losing to the fucking Raptors by like 60. It's just crazy how much of a difference Steph Curry affects this game, not only for himself and getting himself shots, but just being a presence on the floor opens up so many opportunities for his other teammates, and it's just crazy how good Steph Curry is. And it's going to be weird how long he plays in the NBA, because he is a shooter, which means that his longevity is going to be a lot higher than another superstar like LeBron, who have really defied all odds. But for Steph Curry, he's already 32, 33. It's going to be interesting when he stops playing at an MVP level. So for the Rockets, we got Christian Wood. Do I agree with that? Christian Wood, because Christian Wood has been out for a good portion of the season. He came back, was pretty raw when he came back, but he's picked up as of late. I'm trying to think of who else has really shined for them. They had that one rookie, Jason Tate, who has really been good for them. Trade away Ben McLemore. I can't say John Wall is their MVP because he's not having a great season. They said there's a case for him, but John Wall is not doing insane numbers. For the Pacers, Domantas Sabonis. I was going to make a video on the Pacers, but I didn't know if it would fit my content, because the Pacers are one of those teams where I expected them to be solidified playoff contenders, and they have underperformed a lot, and they have good pieces around them, so I don't really understand why they lose so many games, why they're under 500, I believe. If there's a Pacers fan watching this video, I would love to know what's wrong with the Pacers. They got Brogdon, they got Sabonis, they got Miles Turner, they got Jeremy Lamb, they got, TJ Warren has been injured, they got LeVert, they got all these pieces. I don't really know what is wrong with their team that they're not a top 6 seed. I think they're, 10th, 9th maybe. Oh, man, I could go on about the Pacers. I might still make a video because it's just insane to me how they haven't improved. Like, they were the 5th seed last year. I don't know what they're doing wrong this season. But, all right, let's go on to the next player, Kawhi Leonard. There is a case for Paul George here because Paul George has been super good. I know NBA Twitter, NBA Instagram hates on Paul George all the time, but Paul George is having a great year as well. But Kawhi Leonard having a top 10 MVP contention year. Pretty obvious there. For the Lakers, LeBron, that probably makes the most sense. He's in the MVP voting. He's been injured, but there's really, like, if AD didn't get injured and LeBron was the only one out there, I think they would have a better team than if LeBron wasn't out there and AD was the only one there. And that shows you how LeBron is the MVP and the best player on that team. So the Grizzlies and Ja Morant, Jared Jackson Jr. needs to fucking come back, man. He's been out so long. He hasn't played this season. It doesn't even feel like he played last season. But Ja Morant, that's pretty obvious. Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler. Yeah, Bam Adebayo is up there because Bam Adebayo is just having a great year. Continuing his ascension into, he was an all-star this year, I believe, right? Or was he not an all-star? I'm trying to think. I don't think he was an all-star. But maybe Bam is gonna hit an all-star level next year. But yeah, that's a great pick for the Bucks. Giannis, not much to say there. Drew Holiday's been killing it for them as of late. Chris Middleton, having a little bit worse of a year than last year, but yeah, Giannis has been stayed consistent through the last like 4 or 5 years. So Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns. I know I don't like Timberwolves fans most of the time because they're really annoying about Anthony Edwards, but I do like to see how good they are with all their players there, because if I was a fan of the team like the Timberwolves, I would hate for everybody to be hating on our team when we're not even fully healthy. But now they're fully healthy, and they kind of got it together. They have a new head coach that's been pushing new sets for them, and it's really opened up Karl Anthony Towns' game even more. So yeah, I love that pick. For the Pelicans, Zion, great year. Going to be the face of the NBA in years to come. Yeah, I love Zion. And I was going to make another video about reacting to his highlights because he has become so underrated. And nobody's really talking about how good he is. Like 27 points a game. And he's, I guess 26 points a game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists in per game in January. Where's his all right, it's not going to tell me how much he actually averages. But yeah, he's having a great year. Knicks and Julius Randle really upped his game this year. I don't know what steroids he was taking over the offseason, but he's just doing the same things, but a lot better this season. There's really not much else to say. He's just been a lot better. For the Thunder, Shea, I think he's out for the rest of the year, which sucks, even though they are a tanking team. But this is the thing whenever I talk about the Thunder, is when are they going to spend their picks? Like, when are they going to use all their picks for an actual player? Because the chances of them actually using every single one of their picks doesn't really make sense because they got like 50 of them. They can't draft 50 players. There's only 15 roster spots. So it's going to be interesting when they actually use those picks for an actual good player, proven player. Because Shea, I don't think he wants to be on a rebuilding team in the next 5 or 10 years. I think he wants to be good, and I think they need to spend those picks sooner rather than later. I know they got a lot of picks and they got a lot of time, but Shea Gilgeous-Alexander might want to win soon. So Thunder fans, you guys will have to let me know what you guys think about that. But the Orlando Magic, Khem Birch. Okay, this is funny because you don't think of Khem Birch when you think of the Orlando Magic, but they did trade away everybody, so I probably would do Terrence Ross over Khem Birch, but I don't know anything about Magic basketball. I live like an hour away from Orlando, so maybe I should know a lot about Orlando Magic basketball, but that's just funny as hell. That's funny as hell. 76ers Joel Embiid. That's pretty obvious. The Suns and Chris Paul. I love this. I love that they didn't put Devin Booker here because although Devin Booker is a solid NBA player, he's more than a solid NBA player. He's a superstar in this league. Devin Booker, I'm talking about. Chris Paul is their most valuable player. And it's important to note the word valuable because although Devin Booker puts up crazy stats, he plays very good basketball. Chris Paul is just insane. That's why he's in the MVP voting. So it makes sense that he's the MVP of his own team. So Trailblazers, Damian Lillard makes sense. Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody else. Tyrese Halliburton is who I'm thinking of. Rashard Holmes. Yeah, I think De'Aaron Fox has been really good for their team. He's been pretty consistent. Developed kind of a 3-point shooting game this season. He's been really good for them. Spurs, DeMar DeRozan. It was interesting how they didn't trade him at the deadline because I think a lot of fans expected them to, just because they're gonna have to pay him this offseason, which they might actually do just because it's Greg Popovich. He likes being good, and they're not in a bad position now. But they could have got something for DeMar DeRozan, but I'm fine. He's obviously their MVP though. There's no question in that. Raptors, Fred VanVleet. Gary Trent Jr. has been amazing for their season, but over the course of the whole year, probably Fred VanVleet. Utah Jazz, Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, wow, is the MVP of this team. I know a lot of Jazz fans hate me for that one reaction video that I made like a month or two ago, and saying that Rudy Gobert was just a rim protector, but he kind of is, you know. Like, I would put Donovan Mitchell as their MVP just because I guess we'll have to see how they do without Donovan Mitchell in these few games because he did go down with an ankle injury. But That's interesting, Rudy Gobert. That is really interesting. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. The Wizards, Bradley Beal. Maybe. Like it's between Bradley Beal or Russell Westbrook. There's nobody else who could be there. I mean, Daniel Gafford's been really good for them since he's been acquired on the team. But for MVP, I think Russell Westbrook can carry a team better than Bradley Beal can. So that's interesting. But that's gonna be it for me, guys. If you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. And I'll be back. See ya.